It Always Rains on Sunday is a film, if you want an analogy for it, you could say that this is where EastEnders begins. This is a film about the stresses and the frustrations and the pleasures of life in the East End, of family life and the difficulties of it at that particular moment. But you can see that in a way this is the starting point for soap opera.
The film was made in 1947. 2 years after the war ended. So Britain had gone through 6 years of conflict, which, although it was a very difficult time, was also quite an exciting time for some women because they were taken out of their domestic situations. A lot of them were put into factories or worked on transport, taking the jobs that the men who'd gone to war had left. So after the war, it was a time of a bit of a dilemma for women because although a lot of them had a yearning to return to stability and a peaceful time, they also had to leave behind this other life that they'd had. And I think the film, although it's not directly about that subject, I think it captures something of that turmoil that women were experiencing.
Of course, you couldn't really take that job anyway.
Why not? I can suit myself, can't I?
No, you can't. It's him or me now, get that clear.
It Always Rains on Sunday is set in a working class household in the East End, a kind of patched up household. The house has clearly been knocked about. There are holes in it. It looks dingy.
We'll have to find something to cover that up with. Vi, what do we do with the blackout stuff?
And the family in it are too big for the premises. Cramped living conditions. Grown-up daughters sharing bedrooms together.
Doris? Your father wants a cup of tea. All right!
And the head of this household is a woman played by Googie Withers. And she is a woman who has made a mistake that many women made during the war years. They married the wrong person.
I beat him when they came and played us in the league. 1912 double top I finished.
You and your dad.
But into this kind of dreary life that she leads comes a man from her past, Tommy Swan, who has escaped from Dartmoor. And clearly he represents the passion and the danger that's missing from her life. So she has this dilemma, this emotional problem that he comes back into her life, and what does she do? He comes to her to hide him so that he can escape from the police. And she lets him back into her life for that one brief Sunday. That's what the film is all about.
Tommy.
You gotta help me, Rosie. I'm on the run.
I know. Seen the paper. Oh, you shouldn't have come here.
I've been on the run for 12 hours. I had to hide up somewhere till dark.
Robert Hamer, the director of It Always Rains on Sunday, I think of all the Ealing directors is the one with the most passion, really. And what you've got going on inside this house is almost a kind of Brazilian melodrama. It's kind of repressed, but it's incredibly intense too.
Clumsy little fool, those pets cost money. And don't scowl at me. I wasn't scowling. That's right, call me a liar.
And I wonder whether it's that quality that drew him to this story, because this is a story about passion, about anger that's both hidden and obvious, and I think maybe that reflects something of Hamer's own life too. He's a drinker, he's a deeply troubled man, and the idea of this family tearing itself apart, I think must have spoken to something quite deep within him.
Well, of course, Rose and Tommy are the central characters of the film, but there are a lot of other things happening and a lot of other characters who come in and out of the film and who have an important story to tell. And Rose's two stepdaughters play a very big part in it.
What you knitting? Pair of socks. Who for? Ted? No, Dad.
In particular, one of them who is having an affair with a married man. And in many ways, you feel that Rose is actually jealous of the freedom and the fun that she's having. And in fact, at one point, Rose actually rips up one of her dresses in a very almost childish kind of tantrum.
Come out of it, I tell you. My new dress! Look at it! You ruined it! You rotten fat cow!
But again, it's her frustration being expressed. Again, the claustrophobia that effectively 4 adults confined in a small house can produce.
And then there's the fascinating figure of Maury Hyams, played by Sidney Taffler, who is a jazz band leader who owns the local record shop as well. And he's a figure who is a very, very post-war figure, somebody who lives for pleasure, is rather frustrated himself, but represents something that lots of people want, you know, this glamorous life, a life of nightclubs and staying out dancing late.
What time is it?
2, 3, who cares?
Who cares? I've got a key.
You got everything.
And by his side in this record shop is his wife, Sadie, played by Betty Ann Davis, a fascinating character, a woman who knows that her husband is unfaithful to her, but is making these quite precise judgments about when his infidelity becomes a problem for both of them, something that she's not prepared to tolerate. And when that moment comes, it's something spectacular occurs in character terms.
Because I'm leaving you, Maury.
What do you mean, leaving?
Leaving. Goodbye.
But Sadie...
Here, what about me? What am I going to do?
Oh, leave me alone.
I think in its own way, It Always Rains on Sunday is a very exciting, dramatic film, but in a very modest, understated way. And I think it manages to combine that danger and excitement. I mean, the ending of the film was particularly dramatic, where Tommy Swan is escaping through a railway goods yard. So it's got that excitement, but also it's got good characterisation and good acting, and it has something to say. It's not just drama for the sake of it. It's trying to communicate something about people's lives in Britain at the time and today as well.
In a way, this is a small film. It's the story of a house and a street and the streets around it. But it really embodies something about the anxieties and the desires of people in the moment in which it was made. And it's also the most brilliant portrait of a kind of anger and frustration. It's a brilliant portrait of the family. And in Googie Withers, it has a performance of devastating power. I think that sitting down and watching this film is an experience that it's so visceral. It's the kind of film that you just sit there when it's gone, overpowered by the experience that you've had.